talk about building dignity and empowerment in the supply chain. It's something that all three of us are really passionate about and feel very lucky to get to talk with you about and share, because a lot of sustainability in fashion focuses around materials, and we're really excited to talk to you about the human side of the equation. Just to introduce myself, my name is Carrie Phillips. I am one of the partners at BPCM. We're a fashion, lifestyle, and beauty firm, which is 20 years old, but we are also the only fashion firm that also works in sustainability. So to my right is Kohl Krecelius. He's a co-founder of Known Supply, which is an ethical clothing brand that seeks to humanize fashion by celebrating the people who make the clothing. And Gonzalo Pertile, who is the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at J.Crew. 1 year ago, J.Crew committed to greater environmental sustainability and dignity in their supply chain, and Gonzalo is responsible for making that a reality. So, we're talking with two brands today who are very different sizes, but from the time that I've spent with both of these gentlemen, you can see that the mission is very, very much the same. And they're two great examples of either being able to start building this into your supply chain from the ground up, or retrofitting your supply chain to work in this new environment. So I think for both of you, if you guys can talk about what inspired, either in your case you, or in your case J.Crew, to do this, to have an ethical supply chain. So.
Yeah, I think for me, it really stemmed from a lot of international travel, a lot of work, volunteering with international NGOs, and trying to answer the question, what can we do to sustainably and over the long term build capacity and capability in people that will impact them not only in the short term, but over the long term. And so we started in 2007 with my first brand. It's called Crochet Kids International, still around to this day. But the wildest part about all of that was that we started by traveling to Uganda, working with a few local organizations, and teaching a group of women how to crochet, because we knew how to crochet. And it was that process of understanding how you could actually use clothing production to empower and uplift communities and build capacity in individuals that led us on this whole journey. It was long before the conversation around sustainability and supply chains and the things that we know as commonplace today. And it was really simply trying to answer a question of how can we help at least this one community, and that led into the breadth and the depth of the work that we do today.
In our case, what we actually started doing is, first of all, identifying where we had our greatest impact. So we did a life cycle assessment, and we tried to really understand the social and environmental impact of the business that we have, and then try to find a solution to minimize those impacts. And we know there's a huge appetite in the market for sustainability in the fashion industry, and it's also something that we identified as an opportunity as a big brand to make changes in the industry, and to also raise the bar and start also maybe inspiring other brands and doing things that we know they're the right thing to do for our planet and for its people. And we hope also that with our work, we're also really making movements and moving the needle and bringing more brands on board as well.
Awesome. So to do this, I think the barrier is that it always seems kind of challenging, right? It seems to deal with the human side of the equation always seems like a challenge, and there are a lot of things about it that are, but can you guys both talk about the challenges, what have been the most challenging things, and then what have actually been the most rewarding things about this kind of supply chain?
Well, we are a large company, as you mentioned. We have factories in many different countries, different geographies that are facing different challenges. So we didn't want to develop something that was, complex and difficult, to make improvements. So we tried to find a good partner that could help us make improvements as far as the social component and the people that touch our clothes through our supply chain. So I would say it was a challenge to think who would be that partner. And then we decided to partner with Fairtrade USA. And I would say that's rewarding in a sense that it's a long organization, a very old organization. They have 20 years old, very well known in the agricultural side with fair trade coffee, fair trade chocolate, and they also have a standard for the apparel and home goods as well, which is about 5 years old now. And we knew that that was something that we wanted to partner with them in order to make improvements in our supply chain. So I would say, even though supply chains are very complex, there are many different intricate components to a supply chain overall. We knew that by partnering with Fairtrade USA, we would solve a problem, standardize the factory conditions throughout the world, because we are implementing the same standards in all the countries that we work with, and it's something that automatically we're able to know that regardless of the country where a factory is located, once they come on board of the Fairtrade initiative, they are all going to be held accountable to the same standards. So that in the end, it translates to improved conditions for the men and women that make our clothes, and it's something that's, I would say, it's impactful, because it's supply chains, it sounds like a complex issue, but in the end, it's actually people that we're talking about. It's workers in factories, and it's human beings that through this standardized process, they're able to improve their conditions.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I mean, this idea of really honoring sort of the human aspect and the dignity behind the work, it's a vulnerable thing, especially for a large company to take that leap into shining a light on the makers and the factories and all these things that have sort of been behind closed doors. For us, our challenge lie less in that, because we were, in the early days, we were starting our own production facilities from the ground. And how do you do that in a way that you can continue to do it at greater and greater volumes, work with larger and larger partners and collaborators? And we actually also use fair trade, but in a different way. And we use it as a validator to the mission that we've always had, but helping us to also scale it in a way that we can feel really good about and point to. And so that's the way that we're sort of leveraging and furthering our work beyond, starting by teaching, a group of women in Uganda how to crochet.
So it seems like for both of you guys, it's really about finding the right partners to partner with across your supply chain. And it's interesting because one of the tenets of fair trade is transparency. And actually, Kohl, I have a question for you, because your model at Known Supply, it creates a level of transparency between the customer and the garment worker, which is really, it's pretty interesting as a concept. Can you talk about what the response from customers and from the people working in the supply chain has been to that? Because it's pretty new.
Yeah, absolutely. So to clarify, we, on every single one of our products, have a label that's sewn into the garment, and it has the signature of the person who made that item. And it doesn't end there. You can actually go onto our website. We have a whole platform where you can go and learn a little bit more about the facilities where the items are made. You can look up the specific individual who made your garment, learn about their story, their background, maybe some of the things that you share in common. You both love cooking, or you both enjoy playing soccer. There are ways that we just want people to connect. And then you can even write a thank you note and send your gratitude for this beautiful new garment that you have. And that was always super important to us, because as we dove into this process and sort of in a backwards way got into apparel production, what we realized was this human element that people, and ourselves included, fully missed when it came to the things that we purchase and wear. And it's that there is actually human beings on the other end of that, who are incredible, who are these beautiful, beautiful people, maybe living in very different circumstances, but they are to be celebrated. And we felt from the first day till today that if people would know that, they would look at their garments differently. And this whole conversation around sustainability and how we're making items that are creating some sort of social good and impact, if they could know the human side of it, that would be one way that they could ground their understanding in the issues, because they're fellow people, and they could build sort of a framework for what sustainability really meant through that lens.
Cool. So Gonzalo, for you, J.Crew is such a big company. It's an international company. Your supply chain is all over the world. And to make changes in a large organization, can be a real challenge. How do you, I have two questions really. One is, how do you get internal buy-in? How do you get internal stakeholders to get as excited about this as CSR is? And have your customers been asking for this, or does it matter? Or is this something that you felt was right, and then they'll come along with you for the journey?
So for the first question, I would say that in our case, we are lucky enough to have buying from the top of the organization. So all the top executives are really on board of the initiatives, and they're actually part of the work that we're doing. They really get hands-on involved in every single aspect. CSR, in our case, it's something that's not an isolated department. It's not depending from legal
That's
or
rare.
administrative. We're actually sitting in the sourcing team, reporting to the chief sourcing officer. So I would say that that also allowed us a little bit more room to make change, because my partners in a daily basis are actually all the sourcing leads. So the people that are in touch with the whole supply chain, the ones who make decisions and are prepared to make changes. So we partner very closely with them. We work on a daily basis together, and through that close relationship, we are really able to make the change that we want to make. CSR is a department that's actually looking at advising and looking at what are the things that are important from a social, environmental, economic perspective, and then we translate that into what the business is really about, the core business itself, and they are really able to take our recommendations, work with our partners, and change from the raw materials that we're sourcing from to where we are actually making our products, and the approach that we have in the daily relationship with the factories as well. So it's exciting to see that approach, that a big company, even though it might be large global organization, CSR became such a core topic for us. And you go to meetings every single day, and there's no one meeting that nobody really brings the sustainability topic. And little by
So
little.
it has a seat at the table at every level.
Correct.
And then do you feel like, they're going to stop us in a second, but do you feel like it's something your customers were asking for, or do you feel like it's...
Yes, so for both the J.Crew and Madewell brand, we know that our customers are increasingly starting to become aware of issues overall with the fashion industry. So they are the ones who are actually demanding these things. And we're really happy that we are already in a path that we've been working in this for over a year now, and we've been able to make some progress. So we're really happy to commit to something and then have the support from our customers as well.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for everybody for listening, and thank you both for coming and talking about this today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.